Welcome to the warm-up presented by Ford. Sam Mitchell, 3D here with you this evening. I'm Chris Miles. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in the Hornets' breakout player in this early part of the season, Devontae Graham, the NBA's leader in assist and the leader in score, both in action tonight. LeBron James averaging over 11 assists tonight. His Lakers take on the Sacramento Kings. A.Davis listed as probable to play after missing Wednesday's game against the Warriors. James Harden is leading in scoring 38 a night, Sam. You were impressed with that. Houston Rockets have wins in each of their last 5 games. They'll host the Pacers at 8 Eastern. Well, Carmelo Anthony back in the league after sitting out a full year. The future Hall of Fame forward inked a non-guaranteed contract with the Portland Trail Blazers. Melo's scoring numbers, beyond respectable. They're impeccable. 24 points per game. He's 35 years young. The last time he played a game in the league was November 8th of 2018. Again, that's a full year off. 3D. Is that too much time for Melo away from an NBA court?
I'm going to say no, because Melo's been a gym rat his whole life. Now, it will take him a while. We get our sea legs back, saying,
Yep.
you know, this because you haven't played in the NBA in a while. But we know Melo's been playing basketball. He's been in the gym and keeping his craft tight. So I don't look for that transition to be as long as most people think, because we know Melo loves the game of basketball, Sam.
Well, D, I still think it's going to take him about 20, 25 games to get his legs, his timing, get back used to that feel of bumping and grinding of NBA. Look, he can be in shape. He can be in good physical shape, but basketball shape is different. And to Chris, to your point, I played until I was 39, 40. Carmelo Anthony is 35 years old. So look at it this way if you're a team. You can look at it and say, okay, he's 35, but you can also look at it and say, he's had the last year off for his body to rest and heal. Now he can take care of himself. So Carmelo is going to have a fresh mind, a fresh body. Look at how Dwight Howard's playing. And I firmly believe if it wasn't for the success that Dwight Howard is having with the Lakers, the Portland Trail Blazers wouldn't have went back and revisited signing Carmelo Anthony, because everybody was afraid that aging superstar who don't want to come off the bench, is he going to be tough to coach?
Right.
Well, you look at Dwight Howard and how he's fit in L.A. And so if you're Portland, you're sitting there saying, you know what? It's worth a chance on Carmelo Anthony, because we still haven't found that third scorer.
Well, Sam, when you say that, I think of a term that's been tossed around, basketball mortality. When you see the end of your career there for Carmelo, he's had to sit out a full year. It's not like he wasn't able to score last season for the Houston Rockets. He was still able to put the ball in the hole. Do you think it's a mentality thing with him, in that with the Blazers, losers of 6 of their last 7 games, on the road the next 6 games, they're in desperate need of help? It seems like a good fit.
Have you seen what his Blazers standings are right now early in the season?
Yeah.
It's early, but this is the question. Damian Lillard had 60 the other night and they lost. Now think about that. You got a guy, you got probably the two, when you look at guys 6'3" and under, probably the best scoring backcourt in the history of basketball for guys of their size. And what has it gotten them? Until they find that third guy that can put the ball in the basket and take some of that pressure. Have you seen how hard it takes for Damian Lillard and CJ to get a shot? All the running and moving. So again, I understand, and so for a team that needs scoring, every now and then it would not be a bad thing to throw Melo the ball and let him catch and hold D for a second to get his shot, because those guys need a rest.
Look, Chris, they've tried. Obviously, Zach Collins went down with the injury. They tried Hazonia at the 4. They tried Anthony Tolliver at the 4. So they've tried some pieces. It doesn't work. They need someone to come in, when in doubt. When CJ, like the other night, CJ had a decent game. It was one of the few bad games Dame had. He was 2 of 12. They couldn't find anyone else to get them a bucket. We know Carmelo can get a bucket or get double-teamed. And that's one thing, you know, as a coach, can you find someone to get us an easy shot because he demands 2 guys every night? Carmelo, I think, can still demand 2 people.
And I don't want to hear about defense. Look.
Yeah, forget about it.
And I'm not going to throw anybody else under the bus, because I don't believe you. I don't have to throw anybody under the bus to prove a point. Yeah, Melo at 35, he's never been a great defender, but guess what? He knows how to play good team defense. He knows how to rebound. He knows how to play. And to your point, what was Paul George's biggest mistakes last night when he came back? He had 33 points. Did you see the end of the game, all the defensive mistakes?
Yep.
It comes from not playing and not practicing.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the defense, but for the Blazers, they've been in a drought offensively essentially all season. 28th in the league in 2-pointers made. I mean, that's about as bottom of the barrel as you can get, 3D.
Yes, because you're 2 guys who massage the ball the most, like to shoot more threes. Now, CJ will get into the mid-range more than Dame, but to Sam's point, Dame was in a great groove the other night having 60 points, and you come down the stretch, they start double-teaming him, and they're swinging. And like you said, I don't want to throw Kent Bazemore on the bus, but Kent Bazemore has made some shots, but down the stretch, he couldn't make shots. And then you look down at the young fella, Anthony Simons, he's starting to play better, but that's still not a guy that can go get your bucket.
Guys who can make a shot, but it's a difference between me breaking my guy down, throwing it to a guy to take a wide open shot, rather than throwing it to a guy and he breaking a guy down and getting to the free throw line and getting a bucket. And that's what Carmelo Anthony do. He can break a guy down and get to the free throw line, or break a guy down and beat him and make the pass.
We're still waiting to hear word of when Carmelo will make his debut, but I believe it'll be here on NBA TV. There's 2 opportunities. Check out that first one. On Monday, Melo gets to face his former team, the Houston Rockets. That's at 8 o'clock. I think that's must-see TV.
Yes,
and then on Tuesday, second night of a back-to-back, they face the New Orleans Pelicans. Again, your coverage starts at 7:30 with the Auto Trader pregame show. Okay, our poll question tonight, it's about Melo. Will Carmelo Anthony have a big impact on the Trailblazers? Make sure you get on Twitter and you get on Facebook, you go and vote. We'll have the results at the end of the show. Blake Griffin has played exactly 1 game so far this season. Detroit Pistons 4-8 on the year. They can use him back in the lineup. He's there tonight. That game tips off at 7. You're watching the warm-up presented by Ford. Spectrum Center. Charlotte looking to stop a 4-game skid. Their leading scorer so far this season, Devontae Graham. Devontae, welcome to the warm-up. Okay, you spent your rookie year going back and forth from the G League. This year, you're leading the Hornets in scoring, averaging over 7 assists a game. Most of that been coming off the bench. What was your mindset coming into this year, your second season?
Just to be aggressive. I knew I had to have a bigger role, with Kemba leaving and Tony leaving. So just learning from those guys last year and watching them play a lot, learned a ton. And I knew I just had to come in and be aggressive. Sat down with coaches all season and at the beginning of the year, and he just told me to come in, be aggressive, lead a team, and just try to take over.
And speaking of taking over, Devontae, a lot of times people don't understand you can lose your confidence and find it. How did you find that confidence over the summer to come into the training camp knowing you wanted to be in the rotation?
I think the G League helped a lot last year, going down and playing in that. And then, my coaches and my teammates do a great job of keeping that confidence in me. It's not like it left or anything like that, but, you can lose it and find it, like you said. And I think, working with my coaches this summer, it came back.
Devontae, Sam Mitchell here. When you come from a program like Kansas, where you're competing for a national championship, you're a star player on that team, and all of a sudden now you're a second-round pick, you're in the NBA, and now all of a sudden you're fighting for your career. Talk about the mentality that it takes to go from one organization to another, and when you're not a first-round pick, to keep grinding until you get that opportunity to prove yourself.
Yeah, you definitely got to be mentally tough. And like you said, coming from Kansas, you can't be weak-minded. You got to be tough. You got to be locked in, focused. Keep that confidence, like you said. Even if you lose it, you gotta be able to find it again. And just know that you're putting in the work. Continue to grind, and you gotta believe in yourself. So those are the main things.
Talk to me about goals. You guys have had 4 straight losses, yet when you look at the records of your team and the 2 teams ahead of you for those final 2 playoff spots in the East, it's the exact same at 4-7. You guys see yourself as a playoff team this year. Is that the goal for the season?
That's definitely the goal. We watch film every day. We study everybody that we play, and we look at a lot of teams, and we feel like that we can play with a lot of teams. We young. We don't have, the all-star and Kemba that we had last year, but we got a lot of good pieces, and when we play together and defend the way that we know we can defend, we feel like we can play with anybody.
Okay, so clearly Kemba Walker was the leader of this team last year. Terry Rozier coming in. How is it different with Terry than it was with Kemba?
Kemba was a guy who averaged 30, could go and score 60 on any given night like that. T doesn't shoot the ball as much as K does. They're both good leaders. They both play, well with others and stuff like that. But I feel like, playing with T, I played more with T this year. So he's a good off the ball. He can play on the ball. He tried to make plays for others. They both did the same thing, but it's 2 totally different guards in my opinion.
Okay, so you're playing for Michael Jordan. Now you're leading his team in scoring. You got any stories about meeting him for the first time or just playing for him?
I remember the first time I met him. I mean, I was just starstruck. You know what I'm saying? It was like, dang, this really MJ right here. You know, he came up, shook my hand, said my name. I was like, dang, he even know my name. So I was definitely starstruck the first time I met him.
Well, Devontae Graham, you keep leading the Hornets in scoring. Everybody's going to know your name.
Absolutely,
Thank you
young
for
fella.
stopping by the
Congrats.
warm-up.
Keep it going.
I appreciate that, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you. All right, let's focus on who the Hornets are playing tonight. Detroit 4-8 to start this season. Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose been hurt to start the year, so that's been a real reason why they've suffered early in the season. Sam, when you look at them, how much have their injuries hurt Detroit in trying to get out of the gate? I mean, they played just a single game together.
Man, it's devastating. Look, one thing out of training camp, and 3D know this, the only thing out of training camp, you want your team to know what they're doing offensively and defensively, and you want them to be healthy. Well, you come out of training camp and you got your best player is already nicked up and hurt and can't play, and then you got to go through the process of working him back in, getting him in game shape, getting him his touches, making sure you manage his minutes so he don't miss further games. It's just a lot to do aside from coaching the team.
Yeah.
So when you look at some of the injuries they've had early, the only bright spot, 3D, you can say, is get your injuries out early because they're going to happen to all the teams. You just hope you get yours on out the way.
Right, that's a good point. And Blake's one of those guys, Chris, that you have to have on the floor. It's unfortunate that whatever went on, whatever happened, Sam, at the end of the year, because we knew he had that knee injury, and then, like, the summer wasn't enough to get you right to Sam's point for training camp and now to fight back in. So he's definitely one of the reasons why they gotten off to a slow start.
When I look at Derrick Rose, he's shooting a career high from the floor overall. So he's getting to the basket. He has that bounce back. He's missed a couple of games, but he's looked really good. But from outside, shooting 16% to start this season. This is your area of expertise. What are you seeing that he's not doing this year that he did last year when he averaged a career high 37% from three-point range?
Well, I think some of those quality shots he got last year, he's not getting early on in the season. Like you said, he was banged up. I think it was the hamstring or lower extremity that losing some of his timing and rhythm. But those first, 7 or 8 games, Sam, he was getting to the basket, getting to the free throw line, getting that little floater that he made famous to early in his career. So I think his overall confidence has come back. He just has to stay healthy and prove he can stay on the floor for the long haul for the Pistons.
One of the things we've seen with Detroit that hasn't necessarily worked out well for them in D. Rose and Blake Griffin's absence, Andre Drummond, putting up monster numbers, 19 and 17, but the ball in his hands a lot. Sam, how has his role changed with these guys in the lineup, and do you think he'll be as effective as he has been to start the year?
Well, I think for this team to win, he needs to continue to put up those monster numbers. He don't need to take a step back. He needs to keep going forward because when you watch tape, Andre Drummond, look, I'm proud of this young man from this standpoint. When he first came in the league, all he was a dunker. And then people questioned him getting in shape, his commitment to the game, his love of basketball. And you look at Andre Drummond, all he's done since he's been in the league is gotten better every single year. And now you look at his offense. We always knew he could rebound and block shots.
That's right.
But now you look at the moves that he's making from the high post. He's putting the ball on the floor, not just one dribble, not just two, but up with the 3 dribbles. He's spinning. And so when you look at Andre Drummond, his free throw percentage and his game, this young man is committed to getting better. And if you're the Detroit Pistons, with these guys coming back, you still need him to continue to ball out.
And certainly, I mean, even on defense, he's averaging over 2 blocks a game, so 6th in the league in that category as well. For the Pistons to turn this thing around and to make the postseason, is it just health or is there something else they need?
No, I mean, obviously you have to have all of your healthy guys on the floor to see what you really have. And with that being said, then you can really figure out does Drummond and Griffin and Rose, all these guys mesh together. Luke Kennard's had some good games shooting the basketball. Is Reggie Jackson 100%? Can he fit in and he and Derrick Rose play together? All those things, Chris, you don't know until everyone's healthy. So you have to be healthy first, and then this guy to my left is a coach. He can say, now I know what I have. Now I know if I can really fight and how I can work with.
I got a question for you. When Reggie Jackson comes back, would you consider starting D. Rose at the point of bringing Reggie off the bench, or would you keep it the way it is? Because think about it.
That's a tough one.
Reggie Jackson had his best moments playing basketball when he was coming off the bench in OKC. And ever since he signed as a free agent, traded to Detroit and signed a big contract.
Correct.
He has not been the same player.
Good point. That's a great point, and I think sometimes
It's just something you got to think about.
But it's something you got to think about also, too. You have to introduce that idea to the player and say, I know you're making this, I know you're in a contract year, but if you go back to this role that you once was that made you, to your point, that while you got the big contract, maybe you can get back to that status, get your new deal, but more important, help the Pistons win ball
to
games.
your point, no one's going to look at Reggie Jackson after this year as a starter.
No, exactly.
They're just not going. He hasn't done enough based on what he did in OKC, and then coming to Detroit with the expectations. He haven't quite lived up to that. So if I'm Reggie Jackson, you got to start thinking, if no one's going to look at me as a starter after this year, then maybe with Derrick Rose, think about it. If you're playing with Derrick Rose can't play 40 minutes a game. He can't play 35 minutes a game. So if you stay in Detroit and accept a different role, you may end up finishing the games because at that point, both of those guys playing 24 minutes. It comes down to who's playing the best at the end.
Well, one of the guys in the league trying to live up to all the expectations, one of your former players, Karl Anthony Towns, says, they're sleeping us this season. Y'all need to wake up. Well, the Timberwolves started out the year 7-4 so far. They're facing the Washington Wizards at the Target Center tonight. You're watching the warm-up presented by Ford.